Hello everyone, it's Harmony, and welcome to the visual dungeon guide for Snowcloak. This dungeon will become available during the level 50 main scenario quest called the Path of the Righteous. Before we dive into the guide, I just want to quickly point out that as you make your way through the dungeon, huge icicles will occasionally fall from above at certain points. These icicles will appear as telegraphed circular area of effects. Once they hit the ground, they'll shatter and explode, dealing a secondary burst of damage. The falling ice will continue until you eventually come across a white bear. When defeated, it will drop a tiny key, which you'll need to open the nearby door of silence. The first boss is Wandil. This boss frequently uses Ice Guillotine, an instant and untelegraphed frontal cone-shaped area of effect. For this reason, it's especially important for tanks to face the boss away from the rest of the party. The boss will move to the centre of the battlefield before using Snowdrift, a group-wide attack that deals unavoidable damage to all party members. This will also apply 1 stack of the frozen debuff. If your frozen stacks reach 4, you'll become encased in ice and stunned for the next 10 seconds. The boss will now begin periodically summoning frost bombs to assist it in battle. Focus on defeating these bombs as quickly as possible. If left alive, they'll eventually explode, dealing unavoidable group-wide damage and increase everyone's frozen stack count by 1. Cold Wave will target up to 3 random players with a circular area of effect. To avoid it, simply move out of the marked telegraphed areas. If you do take damage from Cold Wave, you'll also gain 1 stack of the frozen debuff. Tundra will reduce the size of the battlefield by surrounding its outer edge with icy ether. Standing within this ether will slowly increase your frozen debuff stack count. These mechanics will now repeat until the boss has been defeated. As another word of caution, after the first boss, you'll encounter several groups of ice sprites surrounded by a freezing wind. Standing within this wind will inflict heavy damage over time, so be careful when clearing the path to the next boss, and avoid fighting inside the areas affected by this wind. The second boss is Yeti. Buffet is a frontal cone-shaped area of effect. To avoid this, simply step out of the marked telegraphed area. The boss will move to the centre of the battlefield before using Northerlies, which will summon up to 6 small snowballs around the battlefield. The boss will then breathe on one of these snowballs, causing it to grow significantly in size. When this happens, move as far away from the large snowball as possible, while also keeping your distance from any smaller ones. This positioning is important because the boss will soon cast Updrift, a group-wide attack that deals unavoidable damage to all party members. It also launches both players and snowballs into the air. When the snowballs come crashing back down, they'll each deal damage as a circular area of effect, centered where they land, with the large snowballs creating the biggest impact. The boss will move to the center of the battlefield again, before using Spin, a circular area of effect centered on the boss, followed shortly by a donut-shaped area of effect. To avoid taking damage, start by standing outside the initial attack until the boss spins, then quickly move into the newly opened safe spot to avoid the secondary donut-shaped attack. Frozen Spike will target all players with a circular area of effect for unavoidable damage, spread out to prevent overlapping damage from one another. From this point onward, the boss will now begin to create 2 large snowballs when using Northerlies. However, the strategy for avoiding them remains the same. These mechanics will now repeat until the boss has been defeated. Once you've defeated the Yeti and continue deeper into the dungeon, you'll eventually come across a large cave that seems to be a dead end. Inside, monsters will continuously spawn until a Snowcloak appears. Defeating it will open the path forward. At the very top of the path, you'll encounter a group of 3 regular enemies guarding a gate. You'll need to defeat these guards to obtain the Finger of the Apostate, an item required to open the gate which will lead you to the 3rd and final boss, Fenrir. Thousand Year Storm is a group-wide attack that deals unavoidable damage to all party members. The boss will summon 4 massive icicles that will crash down from above as circular area of effects. To avoid taking damage, simply move out of the marked telegraphed areas. These icicles will remain on the battlefield for the time being. The boss will now leap to the centre of the battlefield and begin casting Lunar Cry. To avoid this attack, you must hide behind one of the icicles, so it is positioned between you and the boss. Once the cast finishes, quickly move away from the icicles as they'll soon shatter and explode as a circular area of effect. Ecliptic Bite is a tank buster that deals heavy damage to the target. Use defensive cooldowns and shields to mitigate it. The boss will now turn to face a random player before using Heavensward Roar, a frontal cone-shaped area of effect that will span the full length of the battlefield. From this point onward, whenever the boss summons more icicles, 3 of them will appear cracked and weakened. To avoid the boss's Lunar Cry attack, you must hide behind the icicle that is not cracked and glowing. These mechanics will now repeat until the boss has been defeated. Thank you for watching. If you found this guide helpful, please like, subscribe, turn on notifications and, most importantly, take care of yourself and each other.